what is your first surprise that you're sold on through this first chunk of the NFL season? I'm excited for you. I'm excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, you and I were joking over text that I think maybe this is playing to the crowd a little bit, that this was the first one that I picked here. But I truly and honestly wanted to talk about this. I think this Patriots offense is like a top 10, 12-ish type unit in the NFL. They're 10th in yards per play. They're 12th in EPA per play. They're 8th in explosive play rate. They're 17th in success rate. So some of the down-to-down consistency, I think, especially early in the season, has been a little hit or miss. But the last couple of weeks, I think they've looked a lot better. I really like a lot of what I'm seeing from this unit. Of course, we know Drake May is awesome. We talked about, I felt good that we talked about that and had him as the number one second-year quarterback, and then he goes out and has that performance on Sunday night. I'm sure you and Charles talked about it on the recap show. Like, yeah, that's one of those
about 5
moments,
shows talking about him last week, and I was like, come on, just don't do this to me, because this is usually when it blows up in my face. But yeah, no, he had a nice game.
1,000%. He had a nice game. He's just showing just so many promising things from a decision-making standpoint. I think there's always a couple that you could point out, but he accesses all levels of the field. He makes off-platform throws, and God, I mean, talk about, another thing we discussed last week, and then I talked about this with reception perception last week on my in-season charting tracker. Just Diggs' performance in week 3 was a real crescendo into what we saw in week 5. And I think those guys have an awesome connection, which really did start to show in week 4, particularly against zone coverage. They picked on the Panthers in zone coverage, but then they had 2 plays in man coverage where Diggs made these big receptions, one working deep over the middle of the field and the one down the boundary as the isolated receiver or on the outside on the line of scrimmage receiver. That was like, those are the type of things where it's like, okay, if you're going to do that, then we can really have something here. And then obviously in week 5, he is targeted on over 50% of his routes. He's been targeted on over 40% of his routes the last 2 weeks combined, Stephon Diggs. And his chemistry with Drake May is really good. The scramble drill stuff, this is something that obviously Diggs has a history with Josh Allen. So that part of it is really good. But I think the overall design in the passing game is nice too. I love the way they use the tight ends. I think they create space with a guy like Kayshon Boutte, even if when he's not getting the football, I think he helps kind of create space for this team underneath, which Drake is really good about. All right, if it's not there, I'm going to take something in the short and intermediate area. I think he's really good at reading things out. You could tell they're putting a lot on his plate mentally, and he is responding to it. Like, this isn't some kid's glove little offense here. They're putting a lot on his plate from a conceptual standpoint. He's running with it. There's some issues we can talk about in the run game, but I think overall this team looks like it's trending towards the right direction from an offensive standpoint, and I'm really buying what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, I am too. I think that last little sentence there kind of was a perfect, like, too long didn't read. I totally have bought into this pass game is exactly how you put it. Really a top 10 passing game because it can be consistent, which they've already shown. Even if it's not like a perfect trio, like, Diggs, Hunter Henry, and Boutte kind of work together in a weird way. Like, they're not like, no one's an A+ guy, but they kind of complement each other well. And I've kind of been really liking it. The connection they have, like, this is, you're always a Stephon Diggs #1 fan, like, ever since I've known you, even before I've known you. I would say you mentioned this last year when he was in Houston. It was like, he's still good, guys. Like, he's still like doing nice things. That's why I want to see him with Nico, and I want to see him with Tank Dell. I want to see this kind of cook. And even with CJ Stroud, it's like Diggs has just an incredible spatial awareness, like his body control and understanding, like, okay, I'm running an out-breaking route or an in-breaking route, but the ball might not be leading me. The ball might be put away from a defender. Like, as far as like a back shoulder almost on a slant. Like, you saw that he had like a 30-yard catch and run where he kind of turned back into it. Yeah. Like, he understands space. It's a gift that some of these athletes have that's really fun to watch, quarterbacks included. Drake May has this sense of space, like a lot of the good quarterbacks do too. But it's so cool to see receivers just understand it as well. This is so random, but like Devontae Adams had a moment last week on Thursday night where it was a go ball that was incomplete. But the thing was, Devontae Adams understood where he was on the field, and he stopped himself and reached over like a Willie Mays catch. But the fact that he had the spatial awareness to understand, oh, this go ball might not be thrown vertically. It might be thrown kind of 45 degrees of where I'm at. And I just mentioned that these guys have this, and these are what special athletes have. And it was cool watching Diggs. Like, he just had so much more burst out of the breaks. Like, he's not just catching and falling down and getting a first down, which is kind of how I envisioned him this year. And the passing game feels real. It's real. I mean, 13th in DVOA, this offense is right now. And offensive schedule based on DVOA is 29th, but that means they're still producing, even though they've faced a weaker schedule, so on top of the stats you're saying. So I think this is real, especially this passing game. I think they're getting explosives now. I think Booty's been a very pleasant surprise amongst all players in the NFL. Like, what he's become, just like a solid player, just does some nice things. Like, they trust him with stop routes. They trust him with stuff, the whole shot that he had. Like, and he's producing. He's not having any bad moments, knock on wood. The run game has to get sorted out. They're doing some frustrating things to me. Like I just mentioned, Hunter Henry. He's another guy that understands space. They used him as a fullback at times. And as much as I like Hunter Henry, I'm not ever having him lead block on anybody ever. And they did it like 5 times. It's just like, it's always something. It's always something with these offenses. But I agree with you. This has been a very pleasant surprise. I thought this offense would maybe crescendo as the year went along. May and this passing game are really, really kind of like cooking right now. And it's pretty cool to see. And they're not really facing a bunch of tough defenses in the next couple of weeks either.
No. I wish Travion Henderson was like playing a little bit better. It's just constant complaints from like the fantasy heads that he's not, but yeah, you can see it's like he needs to slow down a little bit. And hopefully we see more of that. And maybe that, again, patience in the second half of the year, maybe that's something. But, there's a reason that Ramondre Stevenson keeps fumbling and then Vrabel keeps going back to him and keeps saying, like, we need him to stop fumbling because we need his skill set, because they do need, because I think he's had some nice moments this year as a rusher. But again, we can't just keep putting putting the football on the carpet. And just last point on Diggs too. I'm glad you pointed this out about, like, he has great hands and like where to attack the football in order to get more out of these plays. Like, I cannot say this enough. Like, younger receivers, there's a reason that guys like Diggs is producing in his 30s. Keenan Allen is producing in his 30s. Devontae Adams producing in his 30s. Like, these guys are all like A++++ technicians. None of them first round draft picks. None of them like freak athletes or anything like that. It's just like true. Antonio Brown was like this before, obviously. Insert everything stuff here. Things. Yeah, there's a reason that these guys are producing into their 30s. Like, these are the type of things like that. Such a good point. It's the separation between like good players. It's like some of the stuff that Brian Thomas Jr. is working through right now. It's a separation between like good player, elite player. That's why these guys were like the peak of their position. And while they're not the same players they used to be, they are still hanging on and being plus additions for all 3 of their football clubs right now when they're like 32, 33 years old. So just stuff that, like, little nuances that younger players can learn from watching these 3 guys still do it at the maybe not the highest level, but pretty damn close to it.
No, I could keep going on and on, but it's the understanding of what a football play is or a concept. It's like, it's written like this way or it's drawn up this way, but there's ways you have to functionally get there. Like, it's not always going to be perfect on this route. It's not, the ball is not always going to be exactly thrown in front of you or anything like that. The route's not going to get to 6 yards. You might get pressed. And just understanding, okay, as long as I get to this spot on time, that's successful for us, or that can lead to success for us. So it's a very good point about kind of like which skill sets age well. Moving on to my first surprise, and just a team I feel like I have to keep talking about because it's like not gritted teeth. I just really enjoy this team right now. This is the Colts offense is a legit top 5 unit. And I think maybe just overall, the Colts are a playoff team. Like, that's legit and not just a lucky schedule or lucky breaks, but just offensively, pick a stat. First in success rate, second in DVOA, second in rushing success rate, third in passing success rate, sixth in explosive play rate, first in EP per play, first in yards per play. So whether you like traditional stats or advanced stats or anything in between, eye test, all of this is just passing with flying colors. Even just the avoidance of negative plays has also been a huge part of their kind of success on top of all the stuff that I just listed. They're first in sack rate allowed. They're 5th and run stuffed, 0 or negative yards. So it's just positive play after positive play after positive play. They're first in drives where they only went 3 plays and punted less than 10% of their drives, which is, again, they're just staying on the field, consistently having good plays. And it's funny. It's just after years of really liking so much of this Colts personnel and stuff that we joke about, like who's fantasy relevant, who's actually the one, who's going to get playing time, who should get the targets. There's something to just having a lot of good out there, even if some of them are B's or B pluses or B minuses, there is something to that when you just can operate on time, when the designs are good. Daniel Jones is playing with so much confidence, getting the ball out so quick. Going into last week, I think the 3 players just on true dropbacks, not including screens, that were getting the ball out quickest were Mahomes, Daniel Jones, and Trevor Lawrence, which to me was showing just what their confidence with the offense is, just taking out RPOs and screens and stuff. So I think he's placing the ball well. Again, he made some mistakes against the Rams where they caught him a couple times, but overall, he also had some really good moments against the Rams a couple of weeks ago. And then the Raiders, they just did whatever they wanted. Jonathan Taylor is up there for Offensive Player of the Year through 4 or 5 weeks. Probably him, Puka Nacua, JSN maybe are the trio that I look at, but Taylor looks great. The offensive line looks good. I keep in a bad way, I keep pointing out Bortolini, but he's getting better, the center. And I think they just have competent players on the offense. And Tyler Warren's been great. I just keep going on and on and on. It's just, they're an aggressive team. They have good designs. I'm digging what I'm seeing. And I think I was saying that, yeah, this is going to be a top 10 offense the rest of the year, but I'm bumping that up to this is going to be a top 5 offense, top 6, we'll call it, for the rest of the year, for this whole season. I think it's just a really good operation right now.
I mean, they're still scoring on 65% of their drives, which leads the league by a healthy margin. And I mean, brother, the Raiders defense against this offense, there were so many just stop, he's already dead type moments. I mean, that was just a completely unfair fight, this Raiders defense going against this Colts offense, which I'm not saying that to say that, it's inflated by playing bad defense, because they've played some good defenses too. Broncos, Rams are tough to play against, especially from a pressure perspective. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they're going to throw a lot at you. So, the Bills are going to catch a stray when I say this. So I apologize in advance to Bills fans, but I'm like, the Bills are the whole like everybody eats thing is kind of starting to get on my radar a little bit with the Bills, where I'm like, yeah, everybody's eating, but everybody's eating scraps, like, because nobody's really that good here. I mean, like they're all eating from the buffet. Ain't nobody getting full. Okay, let me tell you that. Like Dalton Kincaid's having a nice season. I like Khalil Shakir for what he is. I was a big Khalil Shakir fan. I think we both are. We really like Shakir. Oh, yeah. But I mean, like he's got his like role, and then everybody else is just kind of, all right, fine, from like a pass catcher standpoint. Yeah. This offense is like, yeah, no, actually everybody eats in this offense. Tyler Warren is awesome. Michael Pittman is one of 4 players with 20 plus targets on first down this year. And he's caught 16 for 156. It's Puka Nacua, obviously, Jake Ferguson in Dallas. It's Michael Pittman. It's Justin Jefferson. Like, he's getting intentional quick usage in his role. He's awesome. Josh Downs is, probably not where some of the Josh Downs like fantasy bros want him to be, but he's been really great like in his particular role. Alec Pierce is doing his thing. And obviously the run game is bad. The run game's, I'm not talking about the run game in Buffalo. The run game obviously kicks ass, but Jonathan Taylor is one of the most productive players in the league right now at running back. So it's like, actually this is an everybody eats offense. This is what it looks like. Everybody's used to kind of like their maximum potential here, as opposed to like, we're just spreading it out just to spread it out.
Yeah, no, and I mean, yeah, Pierce has been banged up with the concussion, and it's like, if A.D. Mitchell just didn't have that fumble, we'd be feeling a lot better about where A.D. Mitchell is at right now, because some of the other stuff that he had been leading up to that point had been so much better and so much more consistent. No, you're right. It's like everybody eats in a good way. Like everybody's getting at least a main course, and Pittman's getting a bunch of touchdowns and getting some nice designs. Like he's become such a high leverage player, almost Keenan Allen-ish. In a way, kind of like just usage, like what Keenan Allen would kind of fall into.
I'm so glad you said that, because like for years, I used to get a ton of crap for saying that their reception perception profiles were kind of similar, and people like, they're not even remotely similar at all, because Keenan is is like more fluid, I think, as a player, but in terms of where they're used. And neither one of them is small either. Pittman's like a big dude, and Keenan Allen's bigger than you think, despite being kind of a slot guy. So I'm glad you said that. Michael Thomas is kind of cut. The Saints, Michael Thomas was kind of cut from this cloth as well. Like these bigger guys that separate on these kind of like over the middle routes. Of course, everybody knows that with Michael Thomas. So anyway, sorry to cut you off, but I'm so glad you said that because I was saying it for years and nobody liked it.
I hadn't even thought, like, that's not a note I had. That was just literally me rambling right now. It just kind of was, I was like, man, now that I'm thinking some of his catches, they are like, it's kind of power slottish, but it's not, they're big guys that aren't vertical guys. Like, I think everyone thinks, 6'4" ball winner. Okay, Mike Williams, T. Higgins, those guys, but these guys are underneath operators and just, crossers and slants and glances and stuff like that, stuff where they can just be big. They're boxing guys out, so yeah, I know that actually makes a lot of sense. No, it's real. It's kind of one of these where it's really nice and encouraging to see. Like it's like where I'm like, okay, I swear Steichen's a good play designer. I swear he's a good play designer. What happened? Oh, here it is. Maybe just Anthony Richardson didn't have to be in there, possibly. And also, last little thing, I know that social media truly doesn't matter in the grand scheme of life. Penn State fans keep yelling at me about Tyler Warren for some reason, because I really like I had the audacity to say I really like Colston Loveland too. Tyler Warren was like 13th on my big board overall. And I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong, because I really like him, but I just I think Loveland has a lot of ability long term. So that's interesting. I know it's going rough with you guys, losing to UCLA at home. Yeah, that was probably a lot of fun to watch, wasn't it? With a offensive coordinator, offensive play car that installed plays for 2 days. Just okay, but please stop. All right, moving on.
Beat up on Nate Tice instead of worrying about their college team. I like it. What a way to live.
Let's start looking at some coordinators that you guys want to hire. I think that's what you guys should be focused on, not my Tyler Warren top 13 players take, which is very weird to get after me about. Matt, what's your next one? What's your next surprise so far this season that you're buying into?
The Dallas Cowboys offense. I had them as a top 10 unit coming into the league, into the season. And part of that was just the players. And, I thought that was going to be the biggest part of it. I was interested to see what the coaching staff was going to do, but I didn't have like a strong feeling one way or another. Was open to being optimistic. I think so far through 5 weeks, I kind of feel like Brian Schottenheimer's cooking a little bit. One, as we always got to talk about him whenever you and I get on the mic, and especially you, Clayton Adams obviously is doing a great job in the run game. This stat from @BobbyBeltTX, the Colts are running the Cowboys are running the ball with motion 15% more this season and running out of condensed formations more than 40% more. So they're up 1.5 yards more per carry in both categories as well. The rushing game has been excellent. I was writing a piece today about top 10 players at each position in fantasy and kind of like the surprises there. Obviously, Javonte Williams is one of those. Just 7.6% of his carries have gone for 0 or negative yards, which is the lowest rate among top 24 fantasy backs right now. So part of that obviously
feels like that
is because this is a really well-designed run game. And I'm giving Brian Schottenheimer credit for hiring for sometimes as a human being, as a football coach, but just as a human being, you gotta know what you don't. You got to know what you don't know, and go find someone to help you out with it. Big shout out to Brian Schottenheimer in his first time as a head coach, not be just, hey, my job, my offense. I'm gonna do everything. Instead, he's seemingly, we obviously don't know the full inner workings of the building, but seemingly is just farmed out a lot of this run game stuff to Clayton Adams. And as we've talked about, his absence is really being felt in the place that he left. So that, I think, if we're going to talk about Brian Schottenheimer cooking, not just from a schematic standpoint, but as a leader and as a head coach, that's a feather in his cap. And then beyond that, what's happening in the passing game, I think is really sick. They're using motions and shifts more. That's great. I also think they're leaning in. This is one of those times where you see a really good balance between veteran quarterback that probably wants things a certain way and also like, hey, let's tweak it a little bit so that we can modernize this thing. We don't need to go full, we're motioning just to motion and we're doing play action just to play action. It all feels very intentional, feels very purposeful. The way that they're using George Pickens, I think, is great, as they're mostly just leaving him out as a boundary X receiver and throwing him the routes that he likes, but they're also, I feel like, attacking based on matchup. In the Green Bay game, I think they just noticed maybe a physicality difference between him and the corners that were covering him. So we're just going to attack him in man coverage on kind of ISO routes over and over again. In this game against the Jets, the shot play to him that went for the touchdown, I thought was really well designed. Subtle pre-snap motion where they take the fullback and put him on the line and then they just rip that thing to him. I thought that was exciting. Getting role players like Ryan Flournoy activated, because that's where the matchup dictates it needs to go, because that's how you attack the Jets, who is not Sauce Gardner. We're just going to pick on that corner over and over again. They did that with Ryan Flournoy. You know what I'm saying? So I just think this has felt like a really buttoned up offense. I pretty much like everything that they're doing right now. And I think that, not to give Jerry Jones any credit here, but they took a lot of crap for hiring Schottenheimer as like a very uninspiring hire. But I think, Nate, you could tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think you can really feel the years of timing that these two guys have together, like Schottenheimer and Dak, and how that has benefited everybody here.
Yeah, no, Clayton Adams, all the pass game, everything you nailed. It's been a really fun watch. It's really, really sound offense. It's teach tape as far as like kind of game planning stuff. But yeah, no, what you mentioned about the connection, or the trust, I should say, that Schottenheimer and Dak might have, came up on third down a couple times against the Jets. By the way, Jets run game, still good. Sorry, I have to throw that in there. Like, Jets run game is really good, and also like Justin Fields is actually like throwing the ball like fairly well, and I'm keeping my eye on it. I know the Cowboys defense stinks, but I'm keeping my eye on it because I'm like, he's playing a lot more confident. I just want to keep my eye on that. But anyways, back to the Cowboys. There's 2 third downs that stood out. So one was a slant route to George Pickens, everything you mentioned here, and talk about already developing this kind of trust. This is what I want to get into, between Pickens, who I would consider going into this year not a trustworthy player, not a player that I'd say I would trust as far as like doing the design properly, executing it, counting on him for 60 minutes where he doesn't lose his mind. It's a third down. The Jets have a blitz look. And I've seen Dak Prescott do this before, and he's one of the few guys that does it still right now. Actually, probably might be the only guy, because he operates so traditionally. So there's these things called sight adjusts, and it's old school offensive play. And a sight adjust is, if these certain guys come, you have to adjust your route to a slant, to an out, to a go, but it's just, there's no signal. So it's just like the receiver and the quarterback have to read the same guy at the same time. And it's usually just the X receiver or the tight end that gets a side adjust. George Pickens, most traditional X receiver I think we have in the NFL right now. They points it out, Dak points it out, everything. Pickens adjusts his routes, run a slant, safety blitzes, boom, there's Dak hitting the slant, first down. And I first off was shocked because Dak didn't really like over signal it. Wasn't like, hey, George, like, these guys come, you're coming. It was just like, hey, you see him, right? You see him, right? And he did it. And I was like, oh my God, George Pickens just executed a sight adjust? That to like, in football terms, this is 301. This is like that as far as quarterback receiver play. And I know Dak can do it, but the fact that they're already at that connection, and Schottenheimer goes, yeah, keep doing your third down operation stuff, even though you have a backup center in there. Like, oh, that's really cool. That's always why I've liked Dak. I think he's one of the smartest players in the NFL. And then there's another third down. Jets run robber. They have 2 crossers. And this was, I think, to Flournoy. Go 2 crossers. And what robber is the safety lurks down in the middle. It's man coverage, everybody else. And then that safety kind of reads the quarterback eyes. But what's happened now in modern NFL is that safety looks up the first crosser to kind of take it away, because that's the natural answer. Mm-hmm. If robber's on the inside, defenders are going to play with outside leverage, so in-breakers are good, just physics. But if you have the robber just depleting the crosser, you're not going to throw the crosser. So on the play, crosser goes, Safety comes down, looks to take his head off, and Dak waits in there. Clayton Adams, great protection, even with a couple backups in there. Here comes the dig route. Boom, the over route, hits the over route, 2 windbreakers. Advanced QB play, great design, great execution by everybody. So what I'm saying is, yeah, I'm with you here, Matt. Like, this is awesome stuff. So you got the run game stuff. Yeah. You got Dak executing perfectly. You got trust in George Pickens. And then CD is hopefully coming back soon. Just really good stuff. And really good note on the condensed formation stuff, because that's also notable, like to the eye test as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's a great point too. Like, this is all without CeeDee Lamb, and Kevontae Turpin's missed time, and obviously they've had injuries on the offensive line. Like, that's the mark of good coaching. When how many times when they would lose CeeDee Lamb or whatever, or he'd get taken out of games, like, well, that's it.
Dead.
Like, yeah, offense is dead. It's not that it's actually been great the last couple of weeks, which is pretty impressive to see.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you for letting me nerd out, because it was one of those games I was just going to breeze through it. I ended up like pulling like 20 clips because I was like, oh yeah, that's the Jake Ferguson touchdown was awesome. It was like a screen design where they made it look like counter. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. and on top of the run game stuff, the use of fullback with Hunter Lepke, like the run game designs are great. Javante's executing it well. Yeah, it's really good stuff. I hope the O-line gets healthy, because I want to see this offense at full force, and CD on top of that. So great shout out here. Great surprise that I'm buying into, because I agree with you. I'm buying into this too. It's become one of my favorite watches in the NFL. All right. We're going to take our last break, and then we'll come back with a couple more surprises, including Bill. See you guys in a sec. All right. We are back. This one's one of my surprises, even though I just gushed about the Cowboys for like a good 5 minutes. This is another NFC East team. You really are playing to the crowd. You're like, here's some catnip, Nate. Here you go.
I forgot that you're such like a Dak honk, so I forgot
Clayton Adams,
that part of it.
And CD.
I knew about the Clayton Adams thing, but yeah.
That's all my guys. This is like, I even like, a couple of the linemen too, like Tyler Smith when he's healthy. He's like one of my favorites too. Yeah. Like you said, it's catnip. And Patriots, you start off the show. Look at you. I'm going to go with another NFC East team, and that's Bill and the Commanders' run game. Even without Jane Daniels, with or without him, they still have Marcus Mariota in there who can run a little bit. Just the run game with the running backs is really good. It's really cool. It's really well designed. And it's not just me gushing about a run game that ranks 20th in success rate. This is number one run game in the NFL in terms of success rate, 50.9%, 50% on just running back runs. Second in explosive runs, first in yards per rush at 6.2 yards per rush, first in rushing yards per game, 157, ninth in rushing DVOA. They ripped off a big play to Chris Rodriguez last week. So even the quote unquote burly back is getting huge plays for them. And really, Bobby Johnson's the offensive line coach. Cliff Kingsbury, even in Arizona, had a really good run game that I thought was always interesting with James Conner. And this has kind of been really cool to see this, some next level stuff, and just kind of what they're trying to accomplish is making sense. It's not just wackiness where I'm like, wow, that's unsound because you guys are going fat. Like a lot of college offenses, just not to be snooty, college offenses for a while, it's like, let's run as many ball plays as possible because the defense will pop. So we're not sound, but the defense won't be sound too. Defense has caught up, got a lot better. So running more plays and running more bad plays, actually, it was not a good thing. But right now, what Commanders are doing, they run so much tempo, is they're able to get to the entire menu of no huddle. And they will just do things like this. So this was a sequence on their second drive, and this kind of highlight what I'm talking about with this run game. They went 13 jumbo, 3 tight ends with the 6 offensive linemen, Trent Scott. They run counter, which is pull a guard, pull a tight end. But they pulled the 6 offensive linemen, which I thought was fun. 7-yard gain. Next play, 12 personnel, very similar formation, almost identical. 12 personnel is 2 tight ends, 2 receivers. They run counter again, literally the exact same play, just pulling the guard, pulling the tight end. Goes for 12 yards on the first down. Next play, 11 personnel. All of this is out of no huddle, by the way. 11 personnel. They run counter again with Luke McCaffrey pulling. This one only goes for 1 yard, so it's not as exciting. But they ran the exact same run concept 3 different times, three times in a row, out of a different personnel grouping every single time, all out of no huddle. And that stuff is cool to me as a football geek, like teams that do that, because it's making the uncomplicated or the simple look complicated. Oh, look at this motion. Look at this different personnel grouping. We're running the same play. So for the players, they just, if you just draw X's and O's, we still get to execute the same exact thing. And then it's up to the coaches to put them in good spots and to manipulate the defense. And that's exactly what they did against a defense that's pretty stout. It's not perfect, that Chargers defense, but still just is able to be very sound. Bill's touchdowns, which I might highlight this week for a video sequence or for a video series on YouTube, pin pole concepts. And it was just great. Again, great formation design using 11 personnel on 1 or 12. I'm sorry. The other one was 13 personnel. So the use of personnel, the use of tempo, all these different types of concepts. They're running speed option, on third and short. Just a lot of cool stuff that uses Jane Daniels a little bit, but also just traditional runs that don't even have to use his legs. So I wanted to give him a shout out. They had a good run game last year, so it's not a total surprise. But this is very real to me and has a lot more juice because of Bill, aka Jacory Krosky-Merritt. But it's just so much easier and more fun to call him Bill, and I'm not talking about Belichick. So any thoughts on what you've seen from the Commanders offense so far, Matt? Because this has been really, really cool for me to watch. And I'm really becoming a big fan of Cliff Kingsbury, NFL 2.0. And I think Bobby Johnson, what he's doing with the offensive line with Laramie Tunsil, Josh Connolly, Chris Paul had a nice game, just doing a good job there.
Yeah, I wrote up last week like the top 12 run games in the NFL, and Washington at the time was 4th in terms of success rate on their running back runs. And that was what stood out to me, was from like a design perspective. Yes, like obviously they take advantage of Jaden Daniels' legs, and which, anytime you have a mobile threat at quarterback, it's going to help the run game. Everybody knows that. But in this game in particular against the Chargers, so that was like last week, I noted this run game and just how good it was. It's like, yeah, they're splitting it 3 ways, but man, if they ever just gave the load to one guy, that player would go off. And obviously that guy would be Bill Krosky-Merritt, who did take a step forward over Chris Rodriguez, who played only fewer than 10% of the snaps in this game against the Chargers. I did think, though, heading into it, like, well, I wonder if, Jaden's still dealing with that knee injury, what the run game will look like. But yeah, I noted the same thing watching it on Sunday, just all the pullers and everything and how they're just getting to the perimeter on a lot of these runs. And like, he is so explosive when he gets to that edge, and he just can Bill Krosky-Merritt. So I think he's really fun to watch. He's very explosive and brings this whole different dimension to the run game than guys. You can tell, and we talked about this, right? In Vegas, when they traded Brian Robinson, it was like, wow, they could not get rid of Brian Robinson fast enough. And I think Brian Robinson is a nice back. He's probably really well suited to the role that he's in now, which is Christian McCaffrey's backup, the number 2 back in San Francisco, which means you never touch the ball. But then when you do touch the ball, if he misses time, you're probably going to touch it a bajillion times and have a pretty nice game. But he didn't bring any of this level of juice to the perimeter that Bill Krosky-Merritt does. So I love what I've seen from this run game as well. And yeah, this is just the Cliff Kingsbury special. You can pick nits at the passing game design, although this year I think the way they've used Deebo Samuel has been pretty cool, getting him on all of these slot reps, playing more in the slot than he has ever. But every year he always throws out a good run game, does Cliff Kingsbury. This one looks better than ever. And like you highlighted Luke McCaffrey's blocking, I think it's you that says this, right? That whenever you see the receivers block, like doing that type of stuff, full over the course of the play, like ripping it as a puller, and blocking, like, all right, these guys are kind of bought in. McCaffrey is like a role player for this team, but when he's out there, he's making the most of his reps. And I think that's just indicative of this whole team right now. It feels very bought in the run game. You can see the results of it.
He had the deep ball right before halftime, right? McCaffrey did too. And I think he returns for him, but yeah, no, they're doing cooler stuff with Deebo than maybe I would have given. I should have given more credit to Cliff Kingsbury with it, because he is creative. I will say maybe OC Cliff Kingsbury has found his calling, because he can just focus on it and just, not all the other stuff. Is like they had a wildcat play with Bill at quarterback, Jaden Daniels at tailback, right behind him. It was Pistol, a Wildcat, obviously, and Deebo Samuel is technically in the sidecar as as almost like a fullback. And how they used it was just such great eye candy because it was just like, well, that's the running back is at quarterback, the receiver is at fullback technically, and the quarterback is at running back. And even if they just ran a simple play, I want to say they just ran zone on it, and they ran GT counter. Again, another counter play, but pulling the guard and tackle on this one. And it's just like one of these things where it's just the window dressing, because as a defender, you're like, okay, what the hell? All right. And most defenses, when they don't know what you're doing, like they're like, okay, this is weird. They're in pony personnel with 2 tailbacks. They're in Wildcat. What do? Stay simple. Quarters, cover 2, like just keep it in front of us so we don't botch this. And if you're a good offense that runs a good play or a sound offense, boom, there's an 8-yard gain, 10-yard gain with, again, a play that you run 100 times, but the window dressing does a lot. So yeah, I wanted to give him a shout out because I've really enjoyed watching that this year. Even when Jaden Daniels was hurt, it was still working. So good stuff there from the Washington Commanders. Let's go on to your last surprise, Matt. What do you have so far? You hinted it at the beginning of the show because of some breaking news. But what is your last surprise through 5 weeks this season?
Yeah, I would say that the Cleveland Browns, who I know are 1-4, and just lost to Carson Wentz overseas, not great, but they're far from the most embarrassing product in the league right now. And I think they were treated with kind of I think because of the clown car quarterback situation. Yeah, the eye roll, and I think maybe we were guilty of it too, because we were not joking about the Shedeur Sanders stuff. That was not fun in terms of like, we got to talk more about the 4th string quarterback here. But guess what? Like, now they've cut the fat out of that quarterback room and it is just the 2 young guys. And I'm genuinely interested to see how that goes the rest of the season. I think they have I think they've got some interesting players on offense. Like, they're getting so much out of their rookies. Even Isaiah Bond, who I don't want to like give a lot of flowers to Isaiah Bond and how they acquired him. Like, oh, shrewd move. No, like you signed an undrafted free agent who was unsigned because he turned himself in on sexual assault allegations.
Set the record for guaranteed money to an undrafted free agent. On top of that,
so I'm not trying to come in here and like give them flowers for this stuff, but they are getting a lot out of their rookies. Obviously, Quinshon Judkins, another guy with a troubling accusation this offseason as well. But at the same time, damn, their run game is fun to watch, and that's with having like kind of a problematic offensive line. Can we say problematic offensive line? I mean, it's definitely one that it's problematic, but nevertheless, like, I think Judkins is decisive and explosive. I think the designs are pretty good there. Obviously, they've done so much with Harold Fannin, who, they got to be itching to just get more and more out of him, bro. You could just tell they love him. And he brings so much to the table there from a versatility perspective. He's exciting. He's so fun. He's so fun to watch. If ever I was going to break the I won't chart a tight end rule, I might do it for Harold Fannin. But he plays such a nebulous role it wouldn't even make any sense. So he's fun to watch. Really, really exciting player there. They're still getting a decent bit out of David Njoku, although you wonder if he's maybe a trade deadline candidate. And that's just on the offense. Defensively, this unit is just so hard to play against. I think every single week teams are going to come in here and play the Cleveland Browns, and they're not going to have a good time. The pass rush gets after it. We've talked about it. They give you almost nothing in the run game. They almost no explosive runs. They keep things in front of them. They play physical man coverage on the back end, which certain quarterbacks are obviously going to be able to solve that, right? I get it. But then at the same time, if they're able to put heat on you, they're not going to have these big coverage busts down the field because they're in these funky zone coverage or anything like that. So I just think this team's tough to play against. They have been, their point differential is not great because they have been blown out twice, but they got blown out by the more so fully operational version of the Ravens and the Lions. Those teams are going to take it to a lot of other operations as well. Yeah. So against basically everybody else, they've been competitive, been in these games. So they're not good. They're going to be a bad team. They're going to pick high in the draft next year.
But they're not a total joke.
they're not embarrassing. They're not an avoid team on Sunday, right? Or even going back and rewatching, they're not a team that's like, well, I'll see how, especially now that Flacco's not in the mix. I like Flacco, great career, but I've had about enough of the Flacco experience, and now we're going to get him in Cincinnati, of course. But I like, now that Gabriel's in there, I'm at least just, again, I'm more interested in what's going on in the offense, while the defense is pretty electric.
No, I agree. It's worth watching now or rewatching or checking in on, as opposed to like, all right, Raiders defense, I'm going to give you a few weeks, or, there's some units out there where I'm like, yeah, I'll see when you have an interesting matchup I have to check out. You mentioned the O-line thing. They traded for Cam Robinson, which is kind of the canary in the coal mine about how your offensive line situation is at the moment.
It's the throat.
But no,
we'll see.
That's it. It's a body. No, great. I mean, shoot, the rookies, ton of fun. Fannin, I've really liked. I agree. Judkins on field, have really enjoyed watching, and I think the run game is getting going. And Mason Graham has done fine too, but Carson Schlesinger has been great so far as a rookie. Really like him. He's been even more, and he's a guy. I mean, I interviewed him too, but I came on late in the draft process where I was like, second round grade. And then the more I watch him, I'm like, no, this could work because he's so instinctive. He's so good in coverage. Like, truly watch, like I tweeted it once, but just truly watch him in coverage. And at UCLA, he's running down with receivers 30 yards. I think he ran down. Was that with Isaiah Bond? It was USC. Zacharias Branch. He runs down 30 yards down the field. And it was just like, it's unbelievable. He's step for step for him. They also had another guy, Aiden Huntington, who's an undrafted free agent, who's been really coming on as a rookie. Malik Collins looks great this year. Absolutely great at defensive tackle this year. And then I got to give a shout out to the guy, because this defense is first in DVOA against the run. Like, so you mentioned, like, they kind of are a slog to run against. So Myles Garrett, who of course is one of, on the podium at the very least, for best defender, best non-quarterback in the NFL, most valuable non-quarterback in the NFL. Think about Myles Garrett. Always can get after the passer. Once in a while, or he'll have stretches though. Against the run, kind of knows run's going away from him. Oh, I'm getting double teamed here. Okay, it's not third down. I'll save it for third down. He has been awesome against the run this year.
Getting after it.
Yeah, effort. I'm not knocking his effort because his effort's good. It's just that, he knows he's a professional. He's smart. He kind of knows where he's going to get paid off of. But the thing is the other guys maybe give him more juice where he's like, they have to run at me on this. So I looked at some next gen stat stuff because I was like, man, it feels high. Like all his run like stops and run stops. So like a run stop is a successful play for the defense on a tackle. Right now, he has 13 run stops. His rate of run stops, so as far as how many tackles are a stop, is at 14.4%. Before this year, his average was at 7%. So he's double his usual rate through 4 weeks. He has 13 already this year. He's had years where last year he had 25 total. So he's already halfway to that total that he had last year. He has 7 run stuffs, which is a gain of 0 yards or a TFL. His stuff rate is 7.8%. He's only cracked 4% once in his entire career. He had 4.6% during his defensive player of the year. He has 7 this year. He had 13 all of that year. So already almost double, already at half what he had his defensive player of the year. Like, his effort is just, again, I'm not knocking it, but it's just like he has become a fully complete best defensive player on a unit that's just kicking ass right now with a bunch of other good players. So I just want to give out, also because I'm writing awards through a quarter of the season, he's my defensive player of the year. So I had to pull some extra stats for it. So, but man, I just had to give that a shout out because it's like, it's not just the pass game stuff, which we know about. They're a complete defense right now, especially against the run. They're probably the toughest team to run on right now.
Yeah, lowest yards per game allowed on rushing plays right now, and I think that is like a testament to Garrett. Just because, he got paid. He's back with the Browns. He decided to take that money and stick there, but he is not phoning it in one bit. He is playing his ass off right now, and that's been pretty cool to see.
It has. Yeah. Again, also want to give Collins that last shout out because, God, he's been awesome too. So, yeah, great defense. Great shout out there because, there's been a lot more embarrassing teams around the league than what the Browns are putting out there. Another 1-4 team. My last surprise that I'm buying into. It's just the Saints' competency. That's all I'm saying. It's just the competent Saints on a team that I thought would be a total joke, would be easily going for the number 1 pick, easily getting there, are competitive. I know the Seahawks game happened, but other stuff happened in that game. But it's just been week in, week out. They took it to the Giants. They were, I thought, clearly the better team in that game. On top of of course, the turnovers help, but they forced those turnovers. I think offensively, they have been like middle of the pack, slightly below average. They're 19th success rate right now. But the thing is, it's again, I use this term, the bones, the operation has been good so far. Like, it's like, oh, this makes sense. This is good design from Kellen Moore and this staff. I think Spencer Rattler has been just really way more consistent and efficient as an operator, understands where to get rid of the ball. They don't give any explosive plays, any explosive passes. They only have 10 explosive passes so far. The league average is 21. They're 32nd in yak per completion. Half of the average, I know. And they're still, with no explosive plays, 21st in EPA per dropback. So, like, all right, just get a few more explosives, and that, okay, you could be in a league average passing game with a 5th round pick in his second year with, Chris Olave is still good. It's just still a little consistent. Rashid Shaheed's been like just this 3-level monster now. Like his route running.
They finally got an explosive play to him this past week.
Yes, they did. And it was 50. I looked it up because it was so impressive from Rattler. Rattler throws one of the prettiest balls. Like his operation, his throwing has 0 fat on it. It's like should be studied. Like truly a dart thrower. And he threw that one to Shaheed, the deep corner. 51.7 air yards or air distance from where he threw it, flat-footed. And I looked it up, and dart on his flea flicker that he shorted, he was able to hitch up into it, threw it under 51 yards. So that's just the difference, a little bit of like tangible arm strength and showing like not, on top of throwing through a wall, just how you can get the access that these guys can get. They've been really rough in the red zone. So they're 29th in red zone scoring, 31st in goal to go, which is probably why they're low in points per drives and score percentage and everything. But they move the ball consistently. They do some cool stuff with no huddle. You mentioned the Sheed deep ball. And then the shadow with Brandon Staley in this defense is the effort level is so much better. Like the tackling is so much better. Just watch Alontae Taylor and how he plays this year. He went from last year where he was a joke and he was on Sean Tucker highlight reels to this year where he was in the slot on a play against the Giants and he's trying to he's fitting up against Cam Scattaboo. So tackling is effort. It's like defense in basketball, or just, I guess, defense, period. It's effort. So the fact that he's bought in, like he's not going like how some media members go, Brandon Staley. He's like, he's fitting up on Cam Scattaboo, where last year he was like pulling flags, So I just want to say I'm bought in to what it's 5 weeks, but what they've shown so far, that this is down the road can turn into something really positive. And I just think that the process on both sides, including Rattler's process, have been really good so far.
Yeah, defensively, I'm glad you pointed this out because part of the analysis with the Giants has been, oh man, they have a really brutal schedule, but they've got this week 5 game against the Saints. They did not play like a defense that was ready to lay down and be an easy out for. And I know the Giants are the Giants right now. They have truly nothing going on in the vertical passing game without Malik Neighbors. They were one of the teams that could not lose their wide receiver one, and they did. But they do throw a lot at you from a run game perspective. They play physically. Dart is obviously an aggressive player. Cam Scattaboo is a hammerhead, and they were getting at that. I'm glad you pointed out they're getting after it. They were playing, truly actually a hammerhead. Like I think his head will be flat by the time. I mean, he's like the damn I've been listening to the Jurassic Park audiobooks. He's the Paracephalus one, the one with the dome head. Just
Crichton books?
Yeah.
Like the actual... Yeah. I read those. I read those when I was a kid. So I love those books.
Yeah, I've been listening to them.
Have you finished them?
Walks.
Have you finished them?
I literally just finished Lost World today, so I'm done with both of them.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, I was a big Michael Crichton. Timeline. Check out Timeline. I like Timeline. That was another Michael Crichton book I liked. Yeah,
I love audiobooks. I don't watch any movies, but I love audiobooks on my morning walks. So this is because I can't listen to any freaking podcasts. Enough of podcasts already, as we say on the podcast.
As we talk on the podcast, as we enter past the hour mark of our podcast. Yes.
Well, yeah, right. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the dinosaurs with the dome heads, the Paracephalocephalus. That's Cam Scadaboo. He's just smacking against the Jeeps. That's him. And they really, like I said, played aggressively on defense. I thought that was a great effort by them. And yeah, offensively, I've been talking about this Saints team as a good, bad offense for a while now. And Rattler is really interesting to me because he's just played so efficiently. I'm glad you pointed out the lack of explosive plays. Like, he's been a productive scrambler. We talked about this on the second-year quarterback stuff last week. His connection with Olave on quick outbreakers is really nice. They do just get nothing over the middle of the field for the most part. He's like a bottom 5 quarterback in adjusted yards per attempt over the middle. And I think some of that might be, I'm curious what your thoughts on that are, like how much of that is a Rattler issue versus I like these receivers, but none of those guys are really, Puka Nacua, Emeka Egbuka, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Amon-Ra St. Brown, like go over the middle of the field. Which, by the way, if you look at like EPA per target or EPA generated on throws between the numbers and 10 plus air yards, it's all like the best receivers in football right now. That's where the best receivers in football are winning. They don't necessarily have those guys, so I think it might be some of a receiver issue too, but that's like kind of the next step I think for him in this offense. If they can access that area, they go from being a fun bad offense to a team that actually gets really interesting in terms of like, what are we building something here as opposed to just treading water for a year.
Charles and I, in our mock, we didn't give him a quarterback. I'm trying to remember who we did give him, but it was not a quarter. We gave him Reuben Bain because this was last week when they had the number 1 pick, and gave him a defender, and that was I think too is just like I think Rattler has shown enough. I'll say before I talk about the middle of the field stuff, he has improved his sack rate, which is the number 1 thing that he had at South Carolina, but South Carolina's offensive line was awful. But he was just getting murdered back there, and he was still trying to operate, still trying to throw some good stuff. But he did have, I think, wasn't the biggest guy of throwing over the middle back from college. Like, I don't think that's ever been a huge part of like, how May was, or, some of the other guys in his class who are just willing to chuck it over the middle. It was more just like when he does, he's okay at it. But even like right now, he's just and this leads to some of his efficiency. So on a lot of high lows, if the low is open, he's just taking it, which is good. But it's a good process to start. But now it's like, okay, now you can push the ball. Now you're comfortable. Defenders are going to start creeping up. So I agree with you. I do want to see a little bit more of you don't really want Chris Olave running digs, and you want Rashid Shaheed kind of running on the outside. Yeah, so you're right. It might be some like Juwan Johnson is more of like a finesse tight end. He's not like a big burly box out tight end. So
they traded for Devon Vele. They gave him a 4th round pick for that. I don't know.
They even designed a play for him on 3rd down. I was like, oh boy, you guys are you're actually like dialing up plays for Vele. Hey, this is where Jalen Polk comes in a year. That's where that trade for Jalen Polk comes in. It's all coming together for us. All coming together. No. So I agree with you though. I do think that he's just never going to be great at it. But personnel dependent might be the best way I put it. Not that he's not willing to, because he'll throw some seams, he'll throw digs. It's just more like, no, it has to be perfect. I want this to actually be a thing, as opposed to something he's hunting. Like, like Dak hunts those throws. Like, he's like, no, that's the thing I want to throw. But I would say the most important thing with Rattler right now is how few sacks he's taking, and the fact that he's getting rid of the ball so quickly. I think that's really, really impressive to me, or at least like encouraging to me down the road, because that was really a big blemish of him, especially and a lot of actually the big thing with Rattler was off-field stuff. And by all accounts, is that he's matured greatly, and he got humbled big time, which happens to a lot of young men, including myself. But I do think that, believe it or not, I've been humbled. But I do believe Rattler, though, is just like, I don't know, the confidence is there. Like, he understands what he's trying to accomplish in every play. And I think it's cool to see. It really is. Even if all the results haven't been like overwhelming, it's like you said, it's like, no, there's might be something here to build upon. Charles and I will be back on Thursday to preview week 6, the 1/3 mark through the NFL season, the 30s, as I used to do my awards column. But now we just do quarter polls and hybrid it. That works. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. That is Matt Harmon. Where can they find you, Matt? What are you working on this week? And I'll be seeing you tomorrow on the Yahoo Fantasy Forecast Show. I know that.
Yes, and I know you didn't get a chance to talk your Seahawks, but I think I want to talk about them tomorrow. So,
okay,
more playing to the
I had to take a break.
to the crowd. Yeah, well,
yeah, okay.
You come do it on the fantasy show. I'm more playing the crowd here. I think I want you to talk Seahawks offense because I've got some thoughts. I've got some things to run out there. So we'll have that conversation tomorrow. And yeah, people can find me on social media at Matt Harmon _BYB if they so choose.
Yeah, I had to take a break from the Seahawks and their like top 5 offense in every metric, and their run game, rushing DVOA, they're like first, I think, in offensive DVOA because they adjust for the defense. I think of that, which actually kind of surprised me. Yeah, I know. I have Seahawks stats ready. And it's not, I know I'm wearing a Mariners gear right now. Oh no, I'm wrong. I'm totally wrong about the run game. So cancel that. 16th. I'm sorry. They're first in passing. That's what it was. Because Sam Darnold, us oligarchs are just, I'm like,
yeah, the oligarchs are
jumping
thriving
into my pile of coins right now. That's what I'm doing right now. Hey, you know what? My mentions were so quiet the last couple of days. And I could have not watched any NFL games this week. And I knew that the quarterbacks that everyone goes, oh, you have your favorites. It's like, well, I think these guys are good. That's why. They must have had good games because my mentions were very, very quiet this weekend. That's a great
Instead,
indicator.
the Penn Staters had to come for you. So,
yeah, about my 13th overall player on my big board. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Really hated them. But we're closing it out today on Football 301. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. Follow us. Rate us 5 stars. Pretty please. Watch us on YouTube on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. We have the Sunday live shows that I do with Charles. All of our great stuff is on there. A lot of good stuff with Yahoo Sports. All the sports. We got basketball. We got hockey picking back up. Football, of course. We got college football. It's great. Thanks to Stone, Austin, Madison behind the scenes for making us look and sound good. Thank you all for listening. See you guys on Thursday.